Let's talk about the lyrics then, because I read a couple of things about it. Is it fair to say that you've embraced more of a narrative style on Rituals?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. And explored maybe a path that I've never really spoken about before, because it was a bit too, I don't know, deep, I guess.
What pushed you over the edge then to kind of go for it?
I think I just had a lot of guilt inside me about the way I've treated people in the past, and I think I just grew up and it just came out a bit, and I don't know, I just started writing these lyrics that I didn't know I had inside me, you know. So I've never really talked about that subject before, but I don't know. I think it was just. I just thought it was time to do it.
Was it difficult?
Yes and no. Like it was difficult in terms of some of the lyrics are quite brutal, and I was scared that people would listen to them and think that I'm an absolute arsehole, you know, like think that I'm a horrible person. But it was actually it was easy to get the lyrics out because it's obviously all this stuff is in me and I didn't realise I had, and it was very easy, and it actually live to perform them as well. It's quite. It comes from a different place, which is always helpful. But yeah, it was a bit of both, really. A bit of both.
I wrote a couple of lines down so we can see how far we get into this. But one thing, and then this might be just something I project onto it, but there seems to be a sense of maybe self-loathing, or in a way. So how do you use that without becoming too depressive, or how do you kind of like I mentioned, that narrative style? How do you use that element?
I think. Yeah, I do have a tremendous amount of self-loathing for things that I've done, but I always try and not take myself too seriously.
Right.
So I think I have to. The way I deal with it and the way I don't become engulfed by it is by laughing about it and by because it's not the end of the world. Like it's bad, but it's not the end of the world, and there's much worse situations. So I always try and keep an element of humour or like lightheartedness about it.
If we look at, I think this is holy. I'm a mess, these demons follow me home, it's easy to bury the guilt on my own. Is this about a specific time then, or is this more of a...
It's more of a general amalgamation of the last sort of 10 years of my life. And it just I guess in a sense, sometimes it's just easier to be on your own and not share things with people because, I don't know, I guess if I don't say things out loud, then I can pretend they're not true. You know what I mean? So I always like try and push things down, which is not healthy. But yeah, that's essentially what that line is.
But, and maybe this is wrong, but being in the life that you are, being a touring musician, are there a lot of moments where you're just by yourself, or those kinds of?
It's bizarre. Not really. There isn't that many. It depends. It depends on the level of touring. But for instance, if you're traveling in a van like we are right now, you're with people, you're sharing hotel rooms, you play on stage with them, you're in a van with them for 6 hours a day. You know, like it's impossible to be on your own. But weirdly, it can also feel very lonely, and I don't know why that is, but. It's strange, but I don't get that much time on my own. But I'm okay with that. I quite like being surrounded by. I like talking to people. And
like I said earlier, these are some of the guys that you've known for a very long time. Yeah. So being in a van and that close together, is there one thing you've maybe learned about yourself or about the band in a sense, being that close together?
I've learned. This is more from the experience of being with other bands. I've learned that we are very close. We get on very well with each other, which is weird because a lot of bands, they will separate themselves a little bit and need some time to themselves. But I think the way it's a miracle that we haven't like killed each other yet because we're so together all the time. Occasionally we do argue, but I think the main thing I realise is we get on very, very well and we're very compatible together, which is lucky.
And that element, that's I think interesting because that element of being that close together and to have that chemistry, how important was that when you wrote these songs and kind of had to show them to the band or try to convince them, hey, what do you think of this?
Yeah, it was very important, but it was also quite difficult because I wrote the songs alone with my friend, and I was aware of the shift in direction, and some of the boys don't like pop music as much as I do. For instance, my brother, he was not on board at all at the start, because like his favourite band is like Nine Inch Nails, and he loves like cool heavy stuff. But then I was scared because I thought they wouldn't like them, but eventually they I guess when they listened to the lyrics and really thought about it, they all became quite on board with it. But it was nerve-wracking because I didn't want them to like hate it, which is quite important. Because
what happened, playing devil's advocate, what would happen if they said, well, no, we're not having it. How would that then work? Would you try to find a middle ground in a sense?
I think I would maybe even keep the songs and use them for something else, or I don't know, give them to people.
Right.
But yeah, I think I would have. I can't. It's important to all have an opinion, and it's important to all believe in the music. And like, if it was just me that liked them and they were kind of resenting playing the songs, that wouldn't work. It would not be good. So yeah, I think I would have worked out a nice middle ground.
Right. And can I assume then that the way you talk about it, that how fans or people, the audience might react, doesn't bother you too much because you've done this with each album in a way?
I guess it does bother. Well, it doesn't bother me. Of course I'm worried about what they think, because the reason we are allowed to do this is because of them. So I don't want them to feel like they're being alienated. But it doesn't bother me enough to not. The thing is, like, I could have easily written another record that sounded kind of like the previous one, and it probably would have been better received amongst our fans, but it would be just too safe. It would be too easy. So I wanted like a reaction. If it was bad or good, it needed to be drastically different. So I guess I'm not that bothered about what they think.
In that sense, then, is it pretty much an open slate for you? Or I don't know if that's the right way of saying it.
Exactly.
But, is it a very much an open slate where anything can make it?
I think so, yeah, because I think if it's anything but that, then you're restricting yourself. I mean, obviously, it has to have some similarities. Like, I'm not going to start writing about like a space odyssey concept. Like, my lyrics will stay the same. I have a very basic way that I write songs, which is very just traditional chord progressions and nothing crazy. So I guess that would always kind of stay the same. But in terms of like genres and styles, I don't think you should put a restriction on it. But we'll see what happens.
Fair enough. Then there's one other song, which I thought was really good, which is the final song, Epiphany. And there's one line, and I don't remember if it's all the way at the end, but all I want to is to begin again. Where did that line come from?
I guess it really is just how I feel. Like, I think I'm fine with how I am, but I've done a lot of things that if I'd have really thought about how my life was going to pan out, I would have done many things very differently, I think. So that whole song is just kind of just a list of things that I wish I would have been instead of this.
But saying that, I mean, you mentioned the nuclear family and wearing a suit and tie. I mean, could you see yourself wearing a suit and tie and going to work every day, same thing?
Absolutely not, which is the reason for that. All I want is to begin again. Because if I could begin again, I think I could be a different person. But the way I am and the way I've been for the last 10, 15 years is very different. So no, I don't think I could see myself doing that now. Definitely not. Final question then. What you mentioned about kind of how you've been living, is that what drives the creativity then? A lot of it, yeah. I live very unhealthily. I drink too much, which is very common amongst musicians. I don't know why. I don't know whether it's because touring is quite boring and you need something, because there's a lot of waiting around, so and you get free booze, so it's like it's something to keep you occupied. But it does definitely drive the creativity. Like, I write better when I'm feeling low, you know, and I think It's weird. I don't know.
But is it then the music that picks you up in a way?
Absolutely. Like the music definitely picks me up, and it's just everything really. Like it's the reason why I do anything is for music. I think
that's a good ending. James, thank you very much for
your
your time.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My pleasure.